All right. Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for being here today. My name is Liz Schaller, if we haven't met yet, and I am the NIMAC manager. And co-presenting today is Nicole Gaines, the NIMAC project director. Hi, Nicole. This is going to be a little bit more of an informal session today. We do have some updates that we want to share and have some questions for you as well. But we also want to get to know folks, both people who are coming back for another year with us as the state coordinator or our new state coordinators who have joined us this year. So on the screen here, we're asking you to put in the chat your name, your state or the agency that you work with, and something fun, a highlight of your summer as you reflect back on what you did this summer. Mine is that I went to Mammoth Cave National Park, which is about an hour and a half from Louisville, which is where the NIMAC is located. We went in July. And I have to say, I mean, Mammoth Cave is very cool if you've never been, but just going to any cave during the summer is a real treat. So I highly recommend it if there's one a state park near you. It was a lovely place to be in July. Oh, hi, Mike. Good to see ya.
Hi guys, I'm just finishing my lunch. That's why I have my camera off.
Oh, no worries. No worries. Glad you're able to come. And Georgianne, hi.
Hi, same thing. I'm double meeting, eating my lunch for about 10 minutes.
No worries. No worries. Got Stacy, Amy. Oh, Amy did a big national park trip earlier this year. That sounds great.
Yeah, it was awesome. We went to like Death Valley and Zion and Grand Canyon and so many places. It was wonderful.
That sounds pretty magical, honestly.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right. Oh, David. David, you don't have any highlights from this summer?
I know I should. I could not think of anything off the top of my head, so I don't know.
Oh, that's okay. I'm sure it'll come to you later. That happens all the time. Oh, Crystal, relaxing on the beach. That sounds great. Oh, Stacy into Puerto Rico. That's cool. I've never been. Miranda. Ooh, the Oregon coast is so beautiful. I've only been once, but I would love to take a longer trip out there. It's just gorgeous. Lonnie, hiking time in Maine. Wow, everyone did nice outdoorsy things, it sounds like. And a lot of national parks. That's great. Well, thank you for being here today. Like we said, some folks who are new to the group and some that have been around for a while. We're so happy to have all of you here today. So we'll hop into what we're going to talk about today. So we'll start with some just basic overview stuff, but we'll move through it pretty quickly just to make sure we're all kind of on the same page. And then Nicole also is going to provide some updates on eBraille, which hopefully everyone has heard a little bit about, but she works more closely with some of the APH folks who work on eBraille. So we'll provide some information about that. Also talk a little bit about NIMAC and procurement and let you all know about some of our upcoming trainings and talk a little bit about technical assistance. And then follow up with that with some discussion of our NIMAC case study, which I think you probably heard a little about at this point, but we'd love to kind of give you an update, let you know about what some of our desired outcomes from the project are. And we have Judy Lee from True North, who is working on this case study for us. She's here today. So she'll talk a little bit about kind of where they're at and their process, and it's pretty exciting. We're hopeful that we'll get some really good data out of it. So with that, I'll hop into just a really quick overview. Hopefully everyone who is a NIMAC state coordinator is already aware of just this the basic way that the NIMAC supports the students in your state. But this is a really handy little diagram that shows you that the process starts when the states and the districts require NIMAS in textbook contracts. And Nicole's going to talk about that more in a little bit. So that's our starting point. And when they do that, publishers will create NIMAS files and send them to the NIMAC. And our NIMAC team, we're a small team, but we review every file, check it for metadata accuracy, for XML tagging best practices, and then we certify that file and make it available to our authorized users. And those registered users can log in and download files or assign them to accessible media producers. These files can be used to create Braille as well as large print and accessible digital formats as well. And then those formats finally are distributed to qualifying students for use in the classroom. We have been in continuous operation since December of 2006, and currently our repository contains over 84,000 files from more than 200 educational publishers. Since we've launched, over 450 NIMAC users have downloaded more than 58,000 source files to use the first-time production of one or more accessible formats. And so far in 2025, NIMAC users have downloaded over 2,500 NIMAS files for first-time production of accessible formats. IDEA does not require that states work with the NIMAC, but we're happy to say that all 50 states, the 6 eligible territories, and the Department of Defense have all chosen to do so. And so as the state coordinator, you know that states and districts that coordinate are legally obligated to require NIMAS from publishers as part of their instructional materials procurement processes. I.e. the adoption contracts or purchase agreements, as well as to abide by the eligibility requirements of IDEA and copyright in the use of NIMAS files. States that coordinate are also required to name a NIMAC authorized or state coordinator to designate and manage the authorized users for their state. So that is where you come in. The NIMAC receives a wide range of student-facing materials that are published primarily for use in primary and secondary education. So kind of one question we often get is around trade books. Trade books typically aren't found in the NIMAC unless they were produced as part of and packaged as part of an educational curriculum, a reading program. And while the NIMAC can accept NIMAS for some digital instructional materials, materials that meet the WCAG 2.0 AA threshold for accessibility are exempt from NIMAS requirements. So, you know, ideally the way it works is that digital instructional materials should be required to meet accessibility guidelines at the point of purchase. So we want them to meet the needs of as many students as possible out of the box. And under the new ADA Title II regs, all SAs and LEAs should be working to incorporate accessibility requirements as part of digital materials procurement. There's a link here, I think Alexa put it in the chat, for meeting ADA Title II requirements, like a roadmap that's quite useful. And we're always happy if you have any questions, we can help direct you to Academy, and their team is great at answering those questions as well. With that, that was a very quick overview. Does anyone have any questions before I hand it off to Nicole?
And Liz, you might want to try rebooting. I don't think rebooting your computer will mess up the meeting, but your your audio was cutting out a little bit intermittently while you were talking, and so I don't know if a reboot might help that.
Okay. I'm recording it as the host, so I don't think I can turn it off
Oh,
at this
right.
point.
Okay.
So hopefully it's not too irritating. I don't know what my computer is doing today. I'm so sorry.
It's
But
just, yeah, just being a little quirky. So, okay.
yeah.
All right. Well, next, I just want to talk a little bit about NIMAC and AIM timelines. And this is kind of especially for folks who might be newer to the NIMAC, because it's not necessarily intuitive in terms of how long it might take either to get an accessible format produced or even for the NIMAC to get a NIMAC file. Again, as Liz mentioned, the way that we get files is through the LEA and SEA purchase agreements. It's really essential for folks to understand that there was no blanket requirement under IDEA for publishers to send us anything. So those contracts are really important in terms of us getting those files. The other thing about it is that NIMAC is a specific digital format that can be used to create a range of accessible formats. So that's the beauty of the format. The downside is that it is not something that is automatically produced as a part of print or ebook production. So it's something that publishers have to generate separately after the textbook is completed and ready for basically for production and distribution to students. Virtually all publishers outsource NIMAC production. They do not produce these files in-house. Digital conversion vendors who specialize in this kind of work do that for the publishers. And this can take anywhere from a week to up to 2 or 3 months. And so that timeline depends on a number of factors, one of which is the complexity of the materials, whether the material is going to include MathML, whether it will include image descriptions. And then it also just depends in a certain measure on whatever the agreements are between the publisher and the conversion vendor. So I just want to kind of let folks know about that. I'll also just note that the NIMAC is always happy to assist users if we don't already have a file that is needed. And that is something that we're happy to do. Publishers are generally very happy to assist, but it's not optimal in terms of us having those files already in advance of an identified need. In terms of accessible format production, these also vary considerably. And I will also just note that when it comes to using NIMAC and accessing files in the NIMAC to produce accessible formats, this is only for the first time production of the material. Once a format has been produced, the producer, whether that's Bookshare or APH or another provider, those materials can then be produced or reproduced as many times as needed to serve eligible students. And that reproduction timeline is often much quicker than the first time production, right? So just to kind of give you a sense of how much it can vary, digital formats, they can generally be converted very quickly, maybe sometimes even the same day if you happen to have somebody on your staff even who is doing an EPUB conversion or BRF conversions. That's a very quick process. Large print, that's kind of the next tier up. It usually takes several weeks, quite a few weeks for the initial production. Using APH as an example, it takes 2 to 3 months generally, unless it's a pretty small, simple book. For an average size textbook, we're looking at 2 to 3 months. And then, but then again, for a reprint, if it's something that APH has produced in the past, you're looking at only 3 or 4 weeks in that case. Braille. Braille is the one format that due primarily to the large effort that's required to create the tactile graphics for instructional materials. This is the format that takes the longest to produce. Generally speaking, for example, with APH, we're looking at a 30-day or 3-month rather turnaround for delivery of the first few volumes of an embossed Braille book or for a shorter book. And then the delivery is rolls out as the embossed volumes are completed. So one of the things I would just kind of point out again, is that if you're looking for instructional materials, if your districts are looking for materials, we always recommend that the Louis database is your first place to check to see if what you need is already available from a provider, right? And we'll actually put in the chat, we'll put the URL to Louis. If you're not familiar with it, we strongly encourage you to take a look at it. It is a database that has information about accessible materials available from about 50 organizations. And then the last thing that I'll say about that is just that we're also happy to help to problem solve. Sometimes if you have placed an order for Braille and you know that it's not going to come in quickly, we might be able to help you in terms of pointing you to a direction or a way that you could get just the BRF only as an interim, or how you can get EPUB so that the student could at least listen and have an audio version while they're waiting for the embossed Braille. So sometimes there are some interim measures that you can take so that the student has something to work with while they're waiting for that embossed Braille. So the next thing I want to give an update on, speaking of Braille, is eBraille, which is a new digital Braille format that has been in the works for the last couple of years. And so I wanted to just provide a quick update on where things are with that format. Where this originated was that APH began work on a new multi-line refreshable Braille tablet. It's called the Monarch, but we anticipate that this is just the first of many devices that will provide this same type of functionality. And basically what it does is, for the first time, students will have the opportunity to have embossed Braille, not embossed Braille, but well-formatted Braille integrated with digital tactile graphics in a multi-line device. And so we're really excited about this. It's been in development for a while. And the primary reason for the need for a new Braille specification was that the existing BRF format, or Braille Ready file, it simply can't accommodate integrated graphics. So in order to provide and really leverage the functionality that this new generation of devices is going to provide, we needed a new digital file format for that, and we're calling it eBraille. One of the things on the NIMAC side that we've been really supporting, we've been actively engaged in the technical specification work itself, but we're also very actively engaged in supporting software development that will provide tools for NIMAS to eBraille conversion. So in terms of where we're at with the eBraille roadmap, APH, we're getting ready to field test eBraille. We've got a Monarch student pilot project that actually began last school year with a group of students who have been using the Monarch in other contexts, and for example with the graphing calculator and being able to access other materials, but not eBraille, because eBraille has continued to be in development. But what we're actually hoping is that sometime this fall we will actually begin providing eBraille to the students in that pilot to get some feedback on their experiences with the device, with the format in that device. We've also been working closely with the folks at Braille Blaster and also with Duxbury. And we anticipate that both of those Braille translation software packages will have Save as eBraille support by sometime this fall as well. So it's exciting times this year. And also the DAISY pipeline, that's another project that we've been working on. It's a free tool. Duxbury, of course, is commercially available. It's very popular among professional Braille transcribers. Braille Blaster, on the other hand, is free software that's available from APH, and it also provides support for translating NIMAS files. The DAISY pipeline is also, another free tool, and it is already able to generate eBraille text from NIMAS, still working with them on implementing some functionality that will help on the graphics side. But lots of support, lots of enthusiasm around the new specification. So we look forward to providing updates. on that as things move forward. Another thing that APH is doing is working on a freely available BRF to eBraille conversion tool. We know a lot of organizations already have a back catalog of embossable Braille files as well as embossable PDFs for graphics. What this tool will allow folks to do is if you have students who have a Monarch device and you have those files that are already at your disposal, you will be able to do an automated conversion, turn those into eBraille, and the student will be able to use them on the device. And so if you're interested in this tool, more information, feel free to reach out. We'd be happy to have you involved in testing that or working with it. So the next thing I just want to talk about, and this is kind of a little bit of a teaser to get you ready for what Judy is going to be talking a little bit about later in terms of the case study and some of the things that we're trying to do in order to really get some more information on what promotes timely delivery. One of the things that we know promotes timely delivery from our standpoint is ensuring that NIMAC is available. And a big part of that is ensuring that NIMAC is incorporated into the instructional materials procurement process. One of the key goals of the NIMAC, of course, is we want to be a proactive resource rather than a reactive resource. And what I mean by that is that the ideal and the actual goal in terms of the way NIMAC and the NIMAC were envisioned in IDEA was that files would already be available. And so there would not be any delays. If Braille is needed, you have that source file, you're ready to run. If you need EPUB or large print or digital audio, it's all a matter of avoiding those delays at the very beginning of that accessible format production process. And so again, when the system is working the way that it's envisioned, states and districts are requiring NIMAC at the point of purchasing materials so that we will already have those available. So in terms of the reality, as Liz mentioned earlier on, all states and districts that coordinate with the NIMAC, and we hope that that is universal because it is wildly advantageous for students to be able to access materials that have been produced from NIMAC and for state systems to be able to have access to these files. All states and districts that do coordinate are required under IDEA to include this language into procurement contracts. We know that it just doesn't always happen. There's a lot of turnover in the field of education, a lot of turnover at SEAs and at LEAs, and sometimes this information just gets lost. And so, so one of the things that we're kind of doing, and the case study is a part of it, is we are looking to kind of continue to build out the technical assistance that we offer to support a wide range of stakeholders and a wide range of folks, but also this procurement piece is an important part of it. So just want to let folks know about that. And with that, I am then just going to hand it back to Liz to talk a little bit more about some of the technical assistance that we have available.
Hey, thanks, Nicole. Did anyone have any questions about eBraille or anything that Nicole talked about? I don't think I didn't see any in the chat, but you're more than welcome to unmute and ask your question out loud, dude. Again, this is very informal, so. I'm not seeing any questions. So yeah, so I'll talk about some things that we have coming up here. We have several presentations. If you're not already aware, we have two Braille transcriber user groups, one for transcribers who utilize Braille 2000 and one for transcribers who utilize Duxbury. And we meet quarterly. Our next meetings are coming up later in September. And the registration links, I think Alexa put those in the chat. I do send out reminders, but if there's anyone on your team who you'd like to attend this, please, feel free to forward it to them, let them know. These are a great place to learn from an experienced transcriber who facilitates the group, as well as the folks attend. Usually there's a kind of bite-sized topic that the group leader will talk about for about 10, 15 minutes. And then we open up for a discussion and folks share their perspectives as well. And I've found them really valuable. I've learned a lot. I am not a transcriber, but I've learned quite a bit in the group. So definitely welcome anyone to attend that might be interested. We also have a couple of in-person sessions coming up. I'm really excited about the session that we're having at APH annual meeting this year. We are pulling together an accessible textbook from start to finish session with folks from our accessible textbooks department as well as our production team to really give people kind of a behind the scenes of how a textbook is produced. So if you are attending annual meeting this year, I would really love to see you there. I think it'll be a really fun and good session. And then Nicole and I are presenting along with our OSA project officer, Rebecca Sheffield, at Getting in Touch with Literacy. And I don't know if any folks here are attending that conference, but I think it's in Alabama. That will be a really good conference as well. We're looking forward to that. And finally, we don't have the date set for it yet, but really happy to say that we're partnering with Katie Robinson from Okali on a 2-part large print training that we'll be hosting later this fall, November, possibly early December. We're still working out the dates, but we will send that out to you. You'll have plenty of notice, and those sessions will be recorded as well. We know that large print is not the easiest thing to produce from NIMAC, and the folks who know how to do it well have developed unique workflows and ways to utilize tools. And Katie is generous enough to be willing to share her expertise on that. So we're really excited for that. Also wanted to highlight a couple of helpful resources that you may not have seen before. One is hosted on our site. It's a 1-page handout that we created originally for NASD, but we have it posted online, and it highlights some contract language that states and districts can use when they are purchasing new materials to make sure that they're requiring NIMAC from publishers at that point. Also wanted to highlight a really great resource that we worked on within Academy about all things NIMAC and NIMAC, what SEAs and LEAs need to know. I think it is both a web page as well as a downloadable version available on their website. So highly recommend taking a look at that, sharing with your colleagues. If you have folks who are new and want to understand more about your job, your role, and what the NIMAC is. And we did want to touch on one of the things that we're kind of trying to get at through our case study as well, but also wanted to open it up to you here is to learn more about what TA needs you see in your state or at your agency, how we can help better support you. So whether that is some additional written guidance document or maybe video resources on, producing accessible formats, working in the NIMAC system, anything like that you feel like we're missing a gap. There's something that would be really helpful for you to have. So resources like that. We're also happy to do additional trainings on anything NIMAC related. I think we have one coming up at the end of the year that we're doing for Montana, I want to say. I think it's Montana. But we do these periodically for folks as they request them, and we're so happy to do it. Whether again it's about learning about how your state works with the NIMAC and your team works with the NIMAC, or actually, how to produce accessible formats, how to locate accessible formats using Louis. Oh, good, Miranda. You can, yes, Montana. That's what I thought. We're happy to pull together anything like that for your team. So, does anyone have anything on their mind right now? Also, feel free to reach out later if you don't, if something comes to you later, that would be really helpful to have. We did do kind of a website refresh over the summer. It doesn't look drastically different, but it does look a little bit different. I think the menu is better. There's an actual search on our website now, which I think makes it more usable. But we always are wanting to build better resources for you. So just let us know if there's anything we can add. And with that, I want to spend a minute kind of introducing the case study, and then I'm going to turn it over to Judy, and she's going to talk more about the process and what they've done. So as as Nicole mentioned, we know that the procurement challenge is definitely one that ultimately impacts timely delivery, but we don't have a lot of data on that topic. And we don't have a lot of information about what other factors both support or hinder the timely delivery of accessible formats. So we asked True North to dive into that subject, which is a complicated one. We so appreciate their work on it. And our goal with this information, I think, well, there are a couple. One is to identify patterns across the case study states, across our other participants of things that work well, challenges that are common for many people, and to learn more about what we can do to possibly improve the system overall. So a little similar in some ways to what we did with our NIMAC convening, where in the case we're diving into the NIMAC specification itself and talking about the file format and things that we could potentially change or improve about the file format to improve ultimately the quality of the accessible formats that are produced from it. So similarly, we want to kind of dive deep into the whole process of timely delivery and look at systems that are in place, whether it's the NIMAC system or state systems, the topic of procurement obviously being a big one, and see, are there things that could be changed or improved on to better support timely delivery. So with that, I want to hand it over to Judy Lee from True North so she can tell you a little bit more about what they've been doing.
Thank you, Liz, and hello, everybody. It's very exciting to see some names that we have either already reached out to about this case study or are planning to, or I've seen you on other meetings. I am Judy Lee with True North Evaluation, and we, as Liz and Nicole referenced, are conducting a study with the NIMAC on the benefits of timely delivery of newly created accessible educational materials. As a large part of the case study, to get deeper into the two large questions that you see on the screen. What are the positive benefits of timely delivery of newly created accessible instructional materials when NIMAC files for the materials are already in the NIMAC system? And what practices, including procurement contracts, facilitate the timely delivery of accessible instructional materials? To inform those two questions, we are working closely, and I'm so happy to see some of you here, with Ohio, Oregon, and Utah. And we are both conducting interviews with people across the system, so both at the state education agency and departments of education, as well as instructional resource material centers, and all the way down to teachers. So we will have a plethora of really fascinating data to inform the NIMAC and OSEP about the benefits and practices that support timely delivery. In addition to those deeper dive efforts, we also have a survey that is administered in those states as well as more nationally. So if we were to go to the next slide, please. I don't want to delay sharing this. Some of you, if you are in those 3 states that I just mentioned, you have already received a survey link specific to your state. If you are not in Utah, Oregon, or Ohio, then this is the link that we would kindly ask you to Yep, thank you, Alexa, for putting it in the chat too. That we would kindly ask you to fill out yourself. Second, share freely with others in your departments, organizations, teachers you may know who have students on IEPs and need accessible materials. If you have newsletters, listservs, this survey link, both in the link and the QR code, they're the same. Go to an anonymous survey that will provide the NIMAC with the information to those 2 large questions that we just talked about. I would welcome you, before I turn it back to Liz, to tell you what the NIMAC plans to do with this data when we finish the study by the end of this calendar year. I'd ask you to please brainstorm ways that you might think about sharing this survey link so that others can benefit from your great ideas, and also so that we can understand. So if you want to come off mute and explain a little bit about how you think you might be able to share the survey beyond completing it yourself, which we really encourage and appreciate, please let us know. Come off mute, put it in the chat. I will also add my email to the chat, and you can also email me directly with ideas. So I welcome any questions as well as brainstorming ideas for sharing the survey widely to get the best data possible for the NIMAC.
Hey, Judy, this is Crystal from North Carolina.
Hi, Crystal.
Hey, so one thing that I did, and I also wanted to ask everybody else, we have been growing amps in North Carolina. And so one of my favorite amps, she handles everything from the NIMAC files and is the NIMAC amp. She's also working with the print shop to get the large print materials done. She's working with Bookshare and Learning Ally to make sure students have those materials too. She is my star amp, right? I sent it to her so that she could give some input, especially back. So she is one of my stars. And then I sent it to one of my newbies to see what they're seeing as the need. So I took 2 ends of my spectrum and sent it to them. And I also wanted to ask, does any of the other state coordinators work closely with their amps because, or with their state department? Reason I'm asking is I'm wanting to put forth some guidance about amps being a related service, to being able to provide access to students and having it written in their IEPs.
I'll let Liz answer that, Crystal, but I will say thank you for sharing. Thank you for completing the survey. I know because you emailed us, and thank you for sharing it with 2 amps on different ends of the spectrum. I think that's a great approach, as well as anybody else that you might think have opinions or experiences with purchasing, providing, or using accessible materials in the classroom. And Liz, I'll defer to you on Crystal's specific question.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I think it was really more for other state coordinators. I don't know if anyone has any thoughts on that. Crystal, if you want to put your email in the chat, you might be able to connect offline with anyone that has thoughts on that. It's definitely a great question.
Yeah, or if your state has AIM in the IEP or AMPS anywhere, just shoot me a public facing link. That would be great.
Great. All right.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any thoughts about survey dissemination? Oh, thanks for putting your email in the chat, Judy. And people are also welcome, obviously, to reach out to us too. We'll connect you with Judy if you have questions related to the case study. I think what she was alluding to with regard to the kind of timeline, we're looking to wrap up our data collection this fall. I think we were saying like end of October, ideally as like a final cutoff. We have a few activities at annual meeting that'll be kind of our final things, I think. And then we'll have a final report that we'll pull together. And like I mentioned earlier, I think ideally, the report is something that we'll be able to share. But then also it will inform us and potentially an academy or other OSEP-funded projects on TA work, or other work that can be done to better improve timely delivery for of accessible formats for students. So that is our goal.
And this is Nicole, just to kind of chime in on that. One of the things that we're looking to do, as we kind of mentioned earlier, is that historically, the role of the NIMAC was kind of seen by OSEP as a little bit more limited in terms of, we are the repository, and our primary purpose is to be receiving these files, reviewing these files, validating the files, certifying the files, making them available. We will continue to do that. That is the core of our work. But as other projects have evolved, as the NIMAC has evolved, it just makes more and more sense for the NIMAC to have a broader role in technical assistance, and that ranges all the way from the work that we do routinely in terms of providing guidance to publishers on how to create high quality NIMAS to increased work in providing support to the accessible media producers and using NIMAS and so forth. And so we're getting ready to go into year 5 of our current 5-year funding cycle. And so, one of the reasons that this timing is particularly auspicious for us is that we're really going to leverage what we find in this case study to help us to really inform the proposal that we submit for the next 5 years of funding for the NIMAC, and how technical assistance will be hopefully growing and changing in response to what we learned. So it really is important to us, and we really value the input.
Absolutely. All right. Well, with that, I think we're almost to 2:45. That was our goal, 45 minutes. Does anyone have any final questions, suggestions, comments about anything we've talked about today? Not seeing anything in the chat. It also sounds like they've just started hammering the outside of the building. We're under construction right now, so maybe this is a good time to say so long, and we'll see you again soon. Hope you're having a good start to your year, and we'll be in touch about the survey. I'll send out the link to this session as well. And if you have any thoughts about the case study or technical assistance needs or any questions at all, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Yeah, thanks everybody so much for joining us today.